Antarctica is the most isolated continent on Earth, a frozen wasteland larger than Europe, covered by endless ice, violent storms, temperatures cold enough to kill a person in minutes, no cities, no permanent population, no governments ruling over it like normal countries, and yet, somehow, this frozen continent became one of the most heavily protected places on the planet. But why? Why would the world agree to protect a place almost nobody can even live in? Because beneath the ice of Antarctica lies something far more important than snow. This is the real reason Antarctica is so protected. At first glance, Antarctica looks completely empty, just ice stretching endlessly toward the horizon. But the continent is hiding something extraordinary. Nearly 70% of Earth's fresh water is trapped inside Antarctic ice. Think about that for a moment. Most of the planet's drinkable water exists frozen at the bottom of the world, and as global temperatures rise, that ice becomes increasingly important, not just environmentally, but politically, economically, strategically, because in the future, fresh water may become one of the most valuable resources on Earth, and Antarctica contains unimaginable amounts of it. But water is only part of the story. Scientists believe Antarctica may also contain enormous reserves of oil, natural gas, rare minerals, and other untapped resources buried beneath kilometers of ice. Resources potentially worth trillions of dollars. Enough to trigger global competition if countries were allowed to exploit them freely. And that is exactly what the world wanted to avoid. During the 20th century, multiple nations began claiming parts of Antarctica. Britain, Argentina, Chile, Australia, France, Norway. Several countries wanted control over different regions of the continent, and for a while, it looked like Antarctica could eventually become another geopolitical battleground. Then came the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union were competing for influence across the entire planet. Nuclear tension was rising, military expansion was accelerating, and suddenly, the possibility of militarized conflict in Antarctica became very real. A frozen continent at the bottom of the world could have become another stage for global rivalry. But instead, something unusual happened. In the late 1950s, dozens of countries came together to sign one of the most important international agreements in modern history, the Antarctic Treaty. The treaty completely changed the future of the continent. Military activity was banned, weapons testing was banned, nuclear explosions were banned, and most importantly, Antarctica would be used only for peaceful scientific research. No single country would fully control it. Instead, the continent became something incredibly rare in human history, a place dedicated primarily to science rather than conquest. Research stations from different nations were built across the ice. Scientists began studying climate, oceans, space, wildlife, and Earth's atmosphere. Because Antarctica is one of the best places on the planet to understand how Earth itself works. Its ice contains ancient climate records, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Frozen deep beneath the surface, scientists can study trapped air from ancient atmospheres, like time capsules buried inside the planet. And what they discovered became deeply alarming. Antarctica is changing. Ice sheets are melting faster in some regions. Massive glaciers are destabilizing. Entire sections of ice, larger than cities, have collapsed into the ocean. And because Antarctica contains such enormous amounts of ice, what happens there affects the entire world. If major ice sheets collapse over time, global sea levels could rise dramatically. Cities across the planet could eventually face catastrophic flooding. New York, Tokyo, London, Shanghai, entire coastal regions could change forever. Suddenly, the frozen continent at the bottom of the world no longer feels distant. Because Antarctica influences global climate systems, ocean currents, weather patterns, and sea levels affecting billions of people, and that makes protecting it critically important. But despite international agreements, interest in Antarctica is growing again. As technology improves, extracting resources from extreme environments becomes more possible. Countries are investing heavily in polar research programs. New bases continue appearing across the continent, and some experts fear Antarctica could eventually become the next arena for geopolitical competition, especially as resources become more valuable during the coming decades. Because while the Antarctic Treaty protects the continent today, treaties can change, politics can change, and global resource shortages can change priorities very quickly. There are already growing tensions surrounding fishing rights, territorial influence, scientific access, and future economic possibilities. Some analysts believe Antarctica may one day become one of the most strategically important places on Earth, not because people want to live there, but because of what the continent contains: water, resources, scientific knowledge, strategic positioning, and perhaps most importantly, control over part of the future itself. The terrifying reality is that Antarctica remains one of the last enormous regions on Earth not fully dominated by civilization, one of the final frontiers, a place where nature still overwhelms humanity completely. Blizzards can erase visibility instantly. Temperatures can fall below levels survivable by exposed human skin. Isolation becomes psychological torture for researchers spending months trapped inside stations surrounded by endless darkness. Because during Antarctic winters, some regions experience continuous darkness for months. No sunlight, no escape, nothing except ice, wind, and silence. And maybe that silence is part of what makes Antarctica feel so mysterious. It is one of the few places left on Earth that still feels untouched, alien, almost outside human civilization entirely. But humanity is slowly moving closer. Technology expands, global demand increases, and the pressure surrounding Antarctica may only continue growing in the future. Which raises a disturbing question. How long can the world truly keep Antarctica protected? Especially when beneath all that ice may lie some of the most valuable resources on Earth. For now, the continent remains frozen, silent, protected by international agreements and brutal environmental conditions. But as the modern world grows more desperate for resources, that protection may eventually be tested. Because throughout history, humanity has rarely left valuable territory untouched forever. And Antarctica may become the ultimate test of whether civilization can protect something before it is consumed by competition.